Welcome to the Steve Wilmot Show with the Neshaminy Redskins head coach Steve Wilmot. I'm Sean Lerman as we get set for the biggest game of the year for the Neshaminy Redskins. Every year it comes down to Neshaminy, Pennsbury, and we'll definitely talk about that in just a little bit. But first, we'll talk a little bit about last week's game. It was a big matchup against the Suburban One League National Conference leading North Penn Knights. And Coach, it was a tough game. Fought hard the entire way. If you can talk about, some of your thoughts as the game went on.
Unfortunately, it kind of started off the way a lot of our games had. Our defense played outstanding. Our offense was having a little bit of a tough time at first gaining hold. And again, I kind of stuck to my game plan as far as keep the formations kind of spread out in the beginning, keep their safeties back a little bit, see where we stand as far as running the ball, passing the ball. I had a few drops in the first quarter. I was a little disappointed about, but again, we blocked them. It came down to at certain times we just didn't execute like I thought we were going to. But of course, I'm proud of my kids the way they fought. But unfortunately, we came away with a loss.
Who impressed as far as on the offensive side of the ball? Anybody that stood out for you?
I think. Tight end Billy Ritchie and offensive lineman Hunter Kelly, our two senior veteran guys who have been around for a while. Played North Penn in the district finals 2 years ago. I think they blocked well. Of course, Will Dogba, same thing I say every week. He ran hard. Kyle Smith kind of came back and gave us a little bit of a punch at H-back. I was very happy with that. The offensive line didn't do bad. Harmon Yalarte, when he comes in as our second tight end, he does a real nice job in there. And, we had a few catches, just not enough catches.
You mentioned Kyle Smith coming back and doing a little bit at the H-back, but also back on the defensive side of the ball after out for a couple of weeks. What did it mean to have Kyle Smith back in the lineup?
It meant a lot. He's a leader on our team. He's an explosive kid that's capable of making a lot of big plays. He pressured their quarterback a bunch of times, and he added a nice punch on defense. He played very well.
As far as the rest of the defense, what stood out to you?
The first quarter they were lights out. Even the third quarter they were lights out. There's just lapses, and a little bit like offense. There's just lapses here and there. They were good. I talked about their passing game last week on the preview. They made a few catches on us, which is understandable, and Nifeast West made a couple runs on us. Not a whole lot, but he made a few runs, and they were felt when he made them. We just got to be able to put together 4 quarters. I think we had a great plan going into it. It's just a few breakdowns here and there. It's just overall execution. We're just a little bit away from playing perfect.
I know you mentioned going into the game last week that they like to run that tight end up the seam. How do you feel you defended that one?
I think we handled their tight end pretty well. Again, most of the night we put Harmon on them, and Harmon's job is to really get a nice piece of him, and for the most part, Harmon has. I think Harmon's played great the whole season. He's done everything we've asked him to do. His attitude's been off the charts great. And I think Harmon really kind of neutralized their tight end for us.
Yeah, I agree. I'm watching Harmon this season. I remember seeing him last year, and he was out there, and I certainly noticed him because he was athletic, made some plays. But this year, it seems like he's really blossomed, come into his own as a player, and he jumps off the field at everyone watching, I think. Unfortunately, a loss to North Penn this week, but certainly Neshaminy, although out of the PowerPoint picture right now, they're right there. And a big game against Pennsbury coming up. We'll talk about that when we come back on the Steve Wilmot Show, presented by ARIA Health.
The ARIA 3B Orthopedic Institute is redefining care in Center City and South Jersey. And our 50,000 square foot location on ARIA Health's Bucks campus in Langhorne features private rooms, free parking, and nearby hotels. With over a century of experience, the world-class 3Bs, Doctors Booth, Bartolozzi, Balderston, and their partners personally guide you from treatment through recovery. For all your orthopedic needs, call 1-888-ORTHO-3B or visit aria3bortho.org. At the ARIA 3B Orthopedic Institute, you come first.
If you are looking for a car, where do you go? Faulkner Auto Group at 4427 Street Road in Trevose is where to go for the best deals in Bucks County for all your new pre-owned cars, trucks, or SUVs. Go to Faulkner Auto Group. It's always Faulkner, to be sure. Go online to faulknerautogroup.com. Just remember, it's Faulkner to be sure for all your new cars or trucks. 4427 Street Road in Trevose. Faulkner to be sure.
Hi, Merrill Reese to tell you about our good friends at the Revere Ristorante Italiano in nearby Ewing Township at 802 River Road. I can tell you that from South Philadelphia to New York's Mulberry Street, there's no better Italian cuisine than that served at the Revere. Start your meal with one of their great appetizers or salads. Entrees include outstanding veal dishes, fresh seafood daily, excellent steaks and chops, homemade pasta dishes, daily specials, and much more. You can also enjoy their bar area, where on most weekends, entertainment is offered. The Revere also does off-premise catering and can accommodate private parties for any affair, including business functions. Call the Revere Ristorante Italiano for more information and reservations at 609-882-6365, 882-6365. The Revere Ristorante Italiano open Monday through Friday for lunch and 7 days for dinner at 802 River Road, right off the Wilbertha Road exit on Route 29 in nearby Ewing Township.
Don't forget, if you miss any of your local high school sports action, you can read all about it in tomorrow's edition of the Trentonian. For your complete local and national news 7 days a week, it's the Trentonian, or online at thetrentonian.com. The only newspaper serving Bucks, Burlington, and Mercer County 7 days a week, it's the Trentonian.
Welcome back to the Steve Wilmot Show, presented by Aria Health. I'm Sean Lerman with the Chamonix Redskins head coach Steve Wilmot. As we go into the final week of the regular season in Bucks County football, the Chamonix Redskins and the Pennsbury Falcons. Coach, this is the big one every year. Before we get into this specific year, just talk about that Chamonix-Pennsbury matchup and what it's meant to both programs over the years.
Oh man, I've just had some memorable games. This is my 21st year coaching. I can remember all the way back. My most memorable Pennsbury game, one of my most memorable Pennsbury games was 1997. We still talk about it amongst the coaches. We call it the Seagull Bowl. It was before Pennsbury had lights, and we thought we had a pretty good team going into Pennsbury, and obviously they have a good team year in and year out, but it was just one of those games where they kind of came back on a screen pass in the fourth quarter. And the reason why we call it the Seagull Bowl, because it was one of those misty, foggy days at Falcon Field, and when they scored that, the fans just went crazy, and of course their band cranked it up, and I just remember all these seagulls in the back. They probably came off the landfill in Tullytown, and they were just all sitting in the field. It was just one of those memorable games that I'll never forget. Again, I'm not real good with remembering details from year in and year out, but I'm more of a remember the feeling type of guy, and I'll never forget the feeling of that game and the heartbreak. After we were up for most of that game, not winning, and there's been numerous games like that in the Chamonix Pennsbury, and I think if you've played in the game, although I'm not from the Chamonix, but I think if you've actually played in the game before, I think it's I think it's even that much more special to you, and it's a great experience for the kids, and I'm happy for the kids.
It always seems to draw a big crowd. I mean, last year it was the Halloween night game. This year, 1 week later, I'm sure we'll see a very big contingent of both Neshaminy and Pennsbury fans out of the field this coming week. So let's get into the game a little bit. Obviously, no secret, Pennsbury doesn't throw the ball a lot. They like to run the ball. So when the defense is preparing for this game, that's probably the number one thing they're looking for is that run games. What do you see as far as what the defense needs to do this week?
I think very similar to what our game plan was against North Penn. I think our defensive line has to kind of control their gaps and let their linebackers run and do their job. Obviously, I don't think I'm telling any trade secrets that you got to keep an eye on that quarterback this year, because you might think you have the running back stopped, and then he can pull it and run it for a lot of yards potentially. Obviously Mike Alley brings the X factor to Pennsbury this year. He's a guy that we really got to account for in our gap scheme, in our linebackers filling type of scheme, and we have to have him covered basically.
So Pennsbury, they run that offense. I'm not sure if it's the triple option specifically, or
I think it's a variation of the wing tee. This year they kind of added a veer element to it and added some old style wing tee stuff as far as the traditional tee formation. I ran it in high school, so I'm a little familiar with it. But it's wing T, but they're just kind of going back 30, 40 years with that old-fashioned T formation. That's worked well for them. You think that they're going to run fullback ISO, and then that quarterback kind of rides it a little bit and follows, or rides it and keeps it going around the corner. I think they've done a nice job with it.
And last year it was Charles Snorway that got the majority of their carries. This year they spread it around a little bit more. They have Dalton Hose, they have a fullback who runs the ball a lot, and they'll give the ball to a few different guys. So how do you get your guys ready to, if it's a different person in there on, multiple plays?
I think you got to defend gaps, and any way you look at it, you got to defend gaps. You got to. It doesn't matter really who they have in there. Anyone could break a run on any given play. You just got to be able to, play the defense the way it's been designed to do, and then keep an eye on the quarterback after that.
As far as the other side of the ball now, Pennsbury having a pretty good season defensively. What do you expect to see out of them for their base set defensively?
They run a 4-4, and the thing that stands out on film when you watch them is how quick they are. They're very quick up front. The linebackers, the two inside linebackers, are the best linebackers that we've seen all year. Originally I think when we talked about playing Satterton, I said their linebackers are pretty good on film. The guys from North Penn were pretty good, but I think these two are the best that we've seen all year. So, their defensive line, their slanters, their angle people, their job is just to make the offensive line kind of miss, guess, whatever, so their linebackers can come free and make big plays. And I think they're very good defensively.
All right, so who has to step up for Neshaminy offensively this week?
Well, as usual, the offense.
Yeah.
Everybody. We don't want them thinking we're going to run the ball every down, because then they'll bring 29, who's a very good free safety, up in there. We want to keep a balance between run and pass. We want to be effective in the pass game, just like I say every week, really. We just want some nice, real high percentage throws out there. And then we just have to be effective along the offensive line. And then, like I said, Will will do his job. It's not like I'm worried about Will not doing a good job. Will's done a nice job all year. So, it's just a matter of just doing our jobs and doing what we've been taught to do all year, and counting on that we've improved every week, and we're not second guessing what we're doing on the offensive line, and just going out and doing it.
Obviously, as you said, the offensive line going to be a big, important factor in this game. So, what are some things maybe that's the offensive line isn't always something that the common fan watching a game has their closest eye on. So, what are some things just in general that maybe a fan or a broadcaster who doesn't know too much about offensive line play should look for to see an offensive line?
I think we talk about steps, okay? Especially we talk about taking airtight steps, and a good, perfect offensive line step will put you in the right position if he stays where you're at, but it'll also put you in a position that if the person kind of slants across your face or something like that, it'll give you good leverage kind of coming back and blocking them. Steps is just something that we kind of talk about every single day, from the spring practice all the way to the last game. Steps and punch, and it's all the basics, and it's just, for an offensive lineman, you just have to trust those steps. You just have to trust yourself that if you take those steps, good things are going to happen, and hopefully by week 10 we're there.
All right, Coach. Well, week 10, Neshaminy and Pennsbury will have it live on 1490 AM WBCB, video streamed live at WBCB1490.com. Vince Reed and I will have the call. Going to be a big one, Coach.
Yep.
All right, good luck.
Thank you.
This has been the Steve Wilmot Show with Neshaminy Redskins head coach Steve Wilmot. I am Sean Lerman. Show presented by Aria Health. We'll see you Friday.